The Morning Brew with friends, and we're back with Senate Majority Whip Senator Michael Padilla from just a little bit south Albuquerque, right?
Yeah, I represent the southwest quadrant of Bernalillo County, about 85% of it. The historic South Valley, picturesque, one of the oldest parts of New Mexico, and then also one of the newest parts of New Mexico, which is the Southwest Mesa. There's been about, I would say, 25,000, 30,000 new residents over the past 10 years through all of that growth.
Growing area.
Oh yeah, I mean it's great. You know, we're a little bit of a retail services island out there, you know, and that we don't have. And so, you know, working really hard to bring that to that area. We've kicked off the Las Estancias development at Coors and Rio Bravo. We have the new IMAX.
New movie theater, yeah.
I finally, after the session, had some time to go and watch a movie. And
what did you go see? Star Wars?
No, we went to see. It was a chick flick.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
perfect.
you know, yeah, and so, but I wanted to go see. I haven't been to the IMAX theater yet, so
I need to get down there for that. I love those kinds of theaters.
Well, one thing I will say about that theater is 450 lazy boy quality chairs. And an IMAX 3.5-story
so they
theater.
got better accommodations than us here on the Morning Brew. We can kind of relax, but these chairs don't go all the way back.
Yeah, well, but those ones, I mean, that is like it's one heck of an experience, you know. I can really wait until they start serving alcohol there. I'll be there all the time.
Oh, really? Well, they actually, they have a.
No, I was. Are you kidding? The neighborhood would be up in arms, and they were all over me about that. You know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, I do. In Santa Fe, it's gone over pretty well at the Violet Crown.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's something they've done in California and in New York, and you can actually have like dinner theater almost in some places in New York, which is really neat, you know. So that's the way they used to do it. So
dinner and a movie in a room,
all in the same room.
Yeah, but you got a bunch of great stuff going on in the district. Now you have a job fair coming up.
Yeah. So for the past 3 years, I've held a massive job fair. The first year we had 34 employers, 2,000 people showed up. The second year we had 51 employers and 4,100 people showed up. Last year, 84 employers and 4,500 people showed up.
Wow.
All in those 3 years, I've been able to generate almost 1,700 new jobs for people in my district, because I track it for 90 days after each job fair. And so we're going to be doing that again on June 15th. It'll be at Harrison Middle School from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we expect at least 80 employers this year, and it should continue to do very well.
Very cool. I know that what kinds of jobs are people looking for in your district right now?
Well, my job fair, you know, I make sure that there's something there for everybody. So we have government, we have non-government, pretty much every government agency. APD will be there this year. As you know, they're having a hard time filling their recruitment classes. The Corrections Department here in New Mexico, all the way to companies like, you know, Fidelity Investments. We've had United Healthcare. We've had airlines there. We've had banks. Credit unions, call centers. I mean, so literally there's something for everybody.
That's cool. That's very cool. So I know you just got done with the session.
Yeah.
And that must have been intense. I know you had a few projects you were working on, and one of them had to do with some early childhood education.
Right.
And how did that go this year?
Well, I'll tell you, this was my 4th year in the Senate, and it was my toughest session ever since I've been there. And
well, tight budget, 30 days.
It was literally a recipe for almost a complete disaster, but we were able to pull out and put some issues behind us here in New Mexico, one of them being the driver's license issue. We had solved it about 2 years ago, but we tweaked it a little bit more last year, and this year we finally got it through. You know, in terms of my legislation, you know, I'm very focused, and it's one of the biggest reasons I ran for the legislature, is to fully fund early education and home visitation services for every New Mexico child.
Because there have been I've read some surveys about that, some studies about that. In other states, it's just made a huge improvement, right?
Yeah, so wherever this has been done, anywhere in the world, actually, we've looked at models in Italy, we've looked at models in Norway, here in the U.S., you know, places like Miami, Nebraska, Massachusetts, you have a 13% return per child per year for the rest of that child's life. You see dropout rates fall something, you know, below 8% for the public schools. If we focus on the earliest opportunity to help these kids succeed from prenatal through age 5, early education is actually prenatal with the family to help them get the child off on the right foot. So you have kind of a 1-2 punch. One is the in-home, you know, focus on the child, and then high-quality early education centers across the state of New Mexico will help
how
these
much would
kids
this
succeed.
cost?
Well, you know, it depends on how you look at it. In order to bring 5-star, the absolute highest quality, if you will.
The Cadillac plan.
The the Bentley plan, I guess is the way and that's what our children deserve.
Right.
Every single one of them deserve this. It's going to cost anywhere from $275 to about $400 million a year.
Wow.
But the return on that investment is significant. It's basically, how would you, Dan, would you rather build a house with oak or with plywood?
Right.
I'd rather build it with oak, so it's standing 200 years from now, right?
Right.
So basically, if we focus on prenatal through age 5, we present better raw material to the kindergarten class. If we can present these children in a much better condition to actually learn when they actually hit school in their kindergarten years, the throughput on the money that we spend from K through 12 is actually going to be so much greater.
Is this like permanent fund money? Is this where would that even come from? I know we're in a state budget crunch right now. We can't even afford roads. How do we afford this?
Well, there's a number of ways to do it. We have a constitutional amendment that we've been focusing on. I've sponsored it for about the past. Oh, I've been working on it for 4 years now, but I've been the sponsor of it for 2 years. It's basically taking only the return on investment from the Permanent Land Grant Fund. And the Permanent Land Grant Fund was set up for education, so and that's what this is all about, early education. And what you do is you take 1% of that, which equates to about 150 or so million. You supplement that with other funding sources, and that's how you make your 250 or so million. We don't have to raise taxes on any New Mexicans, on a single person in New Mexico to make this happen. The Permanent Land Grant Fund has grown by about 50% in the past 4 to 6 years, which is shocking because that's the worst economic downturn the state has ever seen. So this
fund,
oil
and gas leases. I mean, that's
it's leases, it's royalties, it's return on investment,
right.
and it never touches the corpus of the account. It never touches the balance, the principle of the account, basically.
Right.
And the fund is at about $15 billion right now. If we can take 5% for public education, 1% for early education, that's 6%, okay, of the return. The fund has actually returned 9.3% on average for the past 30 years. So the fund will actually continue to grow even as we do this. Even if we do this, we're seeing about a $4 to $6 billion return in addition to the fund for the next 10 or so years.
So where's the holdup been on this? Is it just that people are scared about the money? Is it where's the?
Well, it's a big decision. I mean, it is so big that we have to go through our state constitution to make this happen.
Right.
So first, what you do is you go through both houses of the legislature.
Yeah.
You bypass the governor because it's a constitutional matter. So then it goes to the voters in the next general election.
Right.
Even after that, you have to go to the U.S. Congress because it's a land grant to the United States.
It literally
to New
takes
Mexico.
an act of Congress.
It literally, people, they're not kidding when they say it would literally take an act of Congress to actually get this done. But essentially, if the legislature has decided, if the voters have decided, then the likelihood is that that's what the Congress would do because, we've already been through all the hurdles, basically.
Right. Well, I'd love to have you back on the show, talk more about this, and get a Republican on it, too. Get a little debate.
Well, I'd love to do that because I think that's what New Mexicans, really want to see is what do we think and what are we up to and how can we get all of this done?
I'd love it.
All right. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll be back in a couple of seconds in the Morning Brew.